Well, hello YouTubers, Mike here, welcome back to my channel. Now in a previous video, which I'll put a link to in the upper right, a friend of mine, Rick Brock, who lives up in Georgia, sent me this old Compaq 486 computer. It's old Desk Pro 4/66i computer by Compaq. He was going to scrap it out for the gold and silver, which is what I do a lot of over on my main channel, which I'll also put a link to if you're interested in seeing that process. It's quite fascinating and somewhat lucrative. But Rick sent me this because he was thinking I might want to try and resurrect it as a project for this channel. And he had already disassembled it in preparation for rendering it down for its precious metals, and I started putting it back together, plugged it in, and hey, what do you know, I got some life out of it. It's actually a survivor. So I moved it into my office, I cleaned the dust out of it, the cobwebs, the whatnot, moved it into my office here, and we're going to continue working on it and see just how much life we can get back into this old system, see if we can get it back up and running. So, we'll take a quick look around here. It's got a few dings and nicks. Dirty as all get out. The case is cracked over here. Not too worried about that though. Case is cracked over here. It's got what looks like tape residue across the front. I imagine there was a blanking plate here, and it looked like it was held on maybe with some cheap duct tape. I don't know. Who can tell? It did not have a hard drive, but there was a mounting plate inside the drive bay here, so I imagine there was a hard drive in there at one time. This bag had all the cables and the screws and whatnot that came out of it. Rick was kind enough to send those back with it. There was also a modem slot card and the logic card from the back of an IDE hard drive, parallel IDE hard drive. I imagine that's the hard drive that was probably in here at one point. So, yeah, that's what we had. So I hooked this up to a monitor, hooked it up to a keyboard, plugged it in, got some life out of it. I got into the BIOS anyway, and it was complaining about its hard drive not being present. Now, I was working outside in the wind. There was a lot of background noise. I don't know if I heard the floppy drive seek or not. So we're inside now. It's a little quieter. I'm going to hook this thing back up again and get the case back off. And we'll see just how far we can get this thing along. See if the floppy drive actually seeks the button. The eject button is missing, but I think, yeah, it's in this bag. So I can put it back on. But it should work right there even without the button. Okay. Now I was poking around in the BIOS. It's pretty old and pretty basic. I was hoping I could get an upgraded BIOS for this thing. Download it and burn an EEPROM port or something. But, you know, I don't see anywhere on the motherboard a BIOS EEPROM chip that I can remove and replace. And I got a feeling this is probably too old to have a flash BIOS. Maybe not. Maybe there is a way to flash the BIOS. I will have to do some research on that. But yeah, this does not support LBA for hard drives. So that's going to kind of limit on what we can do. So basically we're not going to be able to have a hard drive bigger than 500 megabytes in this thing, which is pretty small. So let's see if I can get it working at all. Maybe I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's just see how much life we can get out of it. So I will hook up a keyboard and a monitor and power to it, and we'll see what we can do with it. So I'll be back after I've done that. Okay, so we're all hooked up. So let's put some power to it. And found out this takes a little while for anything to happen. But yeah, there we go. So we got a memory test going on up there. So this has 8 megabytes of RAM. But we only have one 4 meg SIM installed, so obviously it has 4 megs on board, which is kind of nice. Here it is. It's complaining about its disk controller failure. I heard the floppy seek. I did not hear that outside, but there was a lot of background noise. So the floppy did seek. So I'll give you a quick look at the BIOS here before we do anything else. Language selection. It comes up first. You get 4 options. We'll stick with English since really that's the only language I speak with any fluency or read. Let's see, fixed disk drives. So yeah, it's not happy. It's not finding its hard drive. Well, there's no hard drive in it. I was shocked when I first started this thing up that the date was correct. The time is a little off, but it's close. So normally the batteries in these things are long dead and corroded by the time I get them. This has a Dallas battery-backed RAM chip in it with a clock timer in it. So obviously the battery in that battery-backed RAM is still good. That is amazing. And it does not have one of those separate nickel-cadmium batteries that always corrodes and destroys the motherboard. That's a beautiful thing. Don't know how many motherboards I've seen that have been destroyed by battery leakage. So, beautiful. Good thing. Let's see. 46 DX2 66. Numeric coprocessor integrated. Secondary cache not installed. Diskette drive swap disabled. We have a 1.44 megabyte 3.5-inch drive, which it found. It seeked it. Heard that. Diskette drive enabled. Diskette booted. Enabled. Well, we'll try booting off the diskette then. Okay. Primary controller not installed. Secondary controller not installed. Yeah, fixed disk drive primary. Base memory 640K. Compact reserved memory 128K. Extended memory 7424K. And total memory 8 megabytes. So yeah, we have 4 megabytes installed in Bank A. That's the only SIM that came with the computer. And Rick emailed me to tell me that was the only SIM he had for it. So yeah, video RAM 512K. Primary monitor attached to VGA color. Numlock state. Password control. Serial interface. Yeah, it's got parallel and serial. Power on speed high. It's got a PS2 mouse interface, which I don't have connected right now. VGA RAM bus, which VGA RAM bus with business audio settings. It has built-in audio. Onboard VGA. Yep. Setup control enabled. Diskette writes. Reserved. Flash ROM. Yes, actually, while I was setting everything up, the monitor and the keyboard, I noticed that there's a little blurb on here about flash ROM. So there is a way, apparently, to update the BIOS, reflash it. I will have to look into that and see how to do it. And I'll show you why here in a little bit. Serial number, revisions, option ROMs. Okay. So that's the system configuration summary. Let's go into the change screen and fix disk drives. I'll show you why I would really like to update the BIOS on this thing, because basically we only have 66 disk types that we can choose from here. 2 custom types which we can set up, and then all these preset types, and 510 megabytes is about the biggest it can handle, unfortunately. So at the time this machine came out, obviously hard drives were not very big yet. So yeah. So that's why I would like to upgrade that. So I need to look into whether an updated BIOS is available for this, can still be found anywhere, and how to flash it. Assuming I can get it to boot up. It probably needs to be booted up to do that. So, speaking of booting up, what did I do with it? Oh, here's my DOS 6.22 boot disk. We will stick it in a floppy drive slot and let's see, escape, exit and ignore changes. I don't think I changed anything, but we will just exit. And we will see what happens. Hey, look, starting MS-DOS. Holy cow. Okay. So it is booting up. The date is correct. The time is off by a bit. 3, might as well reset it. 12. Okay, hey, look at that. I don't know what's on this disk, I just know it's bootable. Let me see. It's just a disk I pulled out of my software archive. Not a lot. Not a lot. Okay. But, hey, it boots up. Wonderful. It boots up. The floppy drive works. Excellent. Okay. So, I think my next steps are I need to rifle through all my old parallel IDE drives and see if I have anything that will probably work with this. I also have some CF card to IDE adapters that I can try in here, and I have a bunch of CF cards that I have collected from switches, Ethernet switches I've scrapped. A lot of them have CF cards in them for programming. So I can try some of the CF cards. Some of them are fairly low density. So if I don't have any hard drives small enough to work with this thing, some of the CF cards might work with a CF to IDE adapter. So that's worth a try. So maybe we can get a fixed disk drive in this thing one way or another, with or without the BIOS upgrade. And the CF adapter, well, it doesn't need a drive bay. So I'm going to have a drive bay for free down here. If I can rummage up an old school CD-ROM drive, the BIOS can probably handle attaching to that. So I could slip a old school CD-ROM drive in there and hook it up. So that's a possibility for the future too. So let me go hunting and see what I can find. And we'll try hanging some accessories off this thing now that we know it works. Thank you, Rick. You sent me a survivor, a working survivor. It boots up. We got DOS. All right. All right, so let me go hunting and I'll be back. Okay, I'm back from my scavenger hunt. So out of my lab, I've got some boxes full of bits and pieces that I figured might be useful in the future that I've saved when I've torn down old computers to render them down for their precious metal value. I brought in a longer IDE drive cable because the one that came with this one's pretty darn short, and I don't like cables to be stretched as tight as guitar strings. I found an old school CD-ROM drive, compact disc, not DVD. So this is probably old enough that the BIOS might be able to work with it. I found one of my compact flash to IDE converter boards. The hardest part to find was this cable. I need to power this, and well, the only connector like this on here is connected to the floppy drive. So I had to find another connector. I hunted and hunted and hunted, and finding this took forever, but now I've got it, so we can try it. I've also got one of my lowest density compact flash drives in here. It's 256 megabytes. So I'm hoping that we can find a setting in the BIOS that can work with this. We'll see. So we'll give that a try. I think what I might try first, though, is the CD drive and see if we can get the system to recognize it. Let's see if I can pop my DOS boot disk out of there. And we're going to replace it with a Windows 98 startup disk, because this will load drivers for a CD-ROM when it boots up. So this should be interesting to see if it's going to work. So let me get this cable installed. Now, not quite sure how I would get both the hard drive and the CD-ROM drive working. I might have to do some cable magic. There seems to be only one IDE connector on this board, even though it says it has two controllers. I only see one connector anywhere. I mean, I can be a little blind at times. Maybe there's another card that's missing. Is it on the mezzanine card somewhere? No, there's not another connector on the mezzanine card. So I don't know where the second drive controller is. I don't know. Maybe, well, what's that say over there? I can't quite read it from this angle. See, there is another header here. No, that looks like a diagnostic port. Okay. So I don't know. So I'm going to have to do some cable gymnastics, probably, to hook up both the hard drive or the CD-ROM drive and a hard drive and/or the CF drive converter to it. So I have to figure something out. I'm pretty good at bodging stuff together, though. I'll figure something out. But let's hook up this CD drive and see if it gets recognized when we reboot with the Windows 98 disk. Let's see what we get on the screen here. Well, as per usual, going through the memory test. Floppy drive seeks. Still complaining about this controller failure. Let's just resume. Let it boot up. Because in the boot sequence, it's going to ask if we want to add CD-ROM drive support. It's kind of a slow boot. Maybe I'll fast forward through some of this. Well, I would say that the system has hung up. I don't think it's going to boot. We got power to the drive. Okay. Oh, wait a minute. There it goes. I don't know what happened. Okay, we will start it with CD-ROM drive support. That's interesting. I thought it was hung. I'm glad I didn't hit the power switch. Number of drives won. It found it. Cool. PCI read configuration failure. So, I don't know. Well, this thing doesn't have a PCI bus. Setting up a RAM drive, 2 megabyte RAM drive. Still grinding away there. Aha! Okay. Interesting. Okay, so we've got the A drive, which is the boot drive, which has the Windows 98 startup files on it. So Windows 98 startup disk, basically, is what it is. We've got the C drive, which is a RAM drive, which has a bunch of stuff on it. And then we have the D drive. Let me find a compact disk. This one's kind of beat up. Hopefully it's readable. It's Puppy Linux. This is a small... Uh-oh. Come on, open up. You were just open a while ago. Why don't you eject? Well, this stuff is old. There we go. It's on its last legs. I mean, this stuff is just ancient, right? It does seem to be, it's spinning up. It seems to be reading it. Let's see if it shows up. Ah, there we go. Okay. So, we got a CD drive working. So that's great. So I could put the CD drive down here in this half-height drive bay if I wanted to. I also have a 5 1/4 inch disk drive. I'll have to decide which way I want to go. If I get a big enough hard drive in this to install Windows on it, I'll need the CD drive. Otherwise, maybe I'll just keep it a DOS machine and put my 5 1/4 inch disk in there. And I can use this machine for transferring files from 3 1/2 to 5 1/4 or vice versa. So, lots of possibilities. So, but hey, my crusty, rusty, barely functioning CD-ROM drive works. I gotta save a few more of these as I tear down old computers because I think this thing's on its last legs. Let me see if it'll eject. No, it probably won't. Well, it's the active drive. Let's see here. Ah, okay. Got my Puppy Linux disk back. Alright. Cool. So, let me shut this down. And we will try rebooting it with this attached. Now, I have ordered some other ones that will fit in the drive bay. And the CF card, you can just insert it from the back. That's going to be much more convenient because there's really not a good way to mount this in here. I mean, I could probably use that steel mounting bracket that the hard drive was on, but I want to actually get this out of the way so I can have both CD-ROM drive and this, or this and a 5 1/4 inch floppy, whichever. So yeah, I've ordered some more of these. They're pretty darn cheap on eBay or Amazon, and usually these things just work, which is amazing. Because you can have so much trouble with stuff. Let me find something to insulate that. We don't have a short circuit. Plug the power in. So this is, like I said, one of my smaller compact flash cards, 256 megabytes. I have a bunch of others that I've taken out of scrap equipment. In fact, I'll put a link to one of the videos where I'm scrapping out some old Cisco switches, and I got some of these Cisco branded CF cards out of them. I don't know if that's the video where I got this one or not, but I got some. And some go up to, many gigabytes, and I think my smallest one is 128 megabytes. So this is 256 is kind of halfway to what this thing can support. So hopefully the BIOS, we can find something in the BIOS that can work with it. So we'll see. So I think I'm going to leave the, actually, you know what? I'm going to put the DOS boot disk back in here because that Windows 98 boot took way too long. Yeah. Burning a lot of daylight waiting for that Windows 98 rescue disk to boot up. Oh, we got lights. Lights, camera, action, I hope. Well, this is interesting. What's it doing here? Well, it's starting MS-DOS without complaining about its hard drive. That's interesting. Okay. Okay. So we got an A drive. Do we have a C drive? Holy crap, we got a C drive. This never happens to me. This never just works this easy. You're supposed to have to go into F-disk and get rid of the old non-DOS partitions, create DOS partitions, and you got to format it. This never just happens to me. Holy crap. This disk, or this CF card, already has DOS partitions on it, at least one. Huh. Wow, I am a lucky cuss. I am a lucky cuss, let me tell you. That was way too easy. So we got about, 256 megabyte hard drive. I mean, it's not very big, but hey, we got a hard drive. I'll just clean out all this Cisco stuff and I'll put DOS on it. Would be great to see if we can get it to boot off of this thing. Yeah. Boot off the CF drive. That would be great. Okay, so I think my next step is to see if I can install DOS on this and make it bootable. And wow. And then when my new CF card converters that will fit in the card slots come in, I can get rid of this mess. And I'll have to figure out a way to extend the cable to both directions, back here and up here, for the CD-ROM drive and the CF card connector, but I can figure something out. It's just ribbon cable. Oh, this is cool! Rick! Look at this! We got a working system here, buddy! Yeah! It's coming together! Alright, let me see if I can install DOS on this. Okay, I hope that's showing up. I have deleted all of the old Cisco files off this CF card, so we've got an empty C drive now, about a little under 256 megabytes in size. So I popped out my original DOS boot disk, and I've got my set of MS-DOS 6.22 install disks here. So these disks are as old as the hills. I hope they still read okay. We'll try installing DOS 6.22 on the CF drive. Okay? Okay. Well, it read the first disk, so let's run setup and see what happens. Yeah. CDOS, yep. It's been a long time since I've done this. Now is a great time to fill out your registration card. Yeah, I think I lost that about 20 years ago. Okay. Well, this is going to take a while. Be back when 1%. Yeah, this is going to take a while. So we'll be back when something interesting happens. Okay, it wants disk 2. Put disk 2 in. I hope all 3 of these disks read. Well, so far so good. Okay, we'll just let it continue loading. Well, so far so good. Time for disc 3. So 3 of 3. This should do it. Okay, we'll be back when it's done. Okay, I think we're done. Remove all discs from floppy drives and then press enter. Okay, let me pop the disc out. 6.22 is now installed on your computer. You start your computer, press enter. Okay. Learn about what's new. There's nothing new about DOS 6.22 in 2022, let me tell you. Is it gonna boot? That's the question. I think it might boot. Maybe. I know it keeps seeking the floppy drive. I don't know, I might have to go into the BIOS. Because I didn't set up that. I didn't set up that CF hard drive. I just plugged it in. And it decided to work. It may not be set as active. I don't know. It's not booting off of it. See, I knew this was going too easy. I knew it was too easy. It's never this easy. Huh. Give it the 3-finger salute here. Actually, you know what? Maybe I'll just wait a little bit, because it took it a long time to boot up with that Windows 98 rescue disk. So maybe it's, I don't know what it's doing. We'll just wait a few seconds. Okay, that's long enough. There doesn't seem to be anything happening. So here's the 3-fingered salute, which we seem to be hung up. Okay, so we'll cycle the power on it. Now, how do I get into the BIOS, I wonder? It always came up because there was an error message. I've never actually tried to get in. Let's see, F1, F2, F10. Escape. Any of that going to put me in? No, it doesn't look like it. So how do you get into the BIOS? I suppose I can generate an error message. Let me reboot it again. And I'll just hold down a key on the keyboard. Sometimes that generates enough of an error message to get you into the BIOS. I'm holding down the enter key. We'll see what happens. Keyboard error. Yeah. Aha! Okay, so we can get into setup now. Good. That worked. Automatically updated fixed disk drives. So now we have a fixed disk number 1, which we did not have before. So it automatically detected it and set it up. Okay. That's good. Let's look at our options here. Primary controller, yeah. We don't have a disk 2. Ah! It says, now it says primary. It doesn't say disabled. So why aren't we booting from it? Let's maybe I do need to run F-disk. I might need to run F-disk on it. Yeah. Okay. Let me do that. Okay, I gave this a little bit of a think. I never really set up this CF drive or this CF card. It just, it just worked. So it was probably never meant to be bootable. It may not have a master boot record on it, or it may not have the right kind of master boot record on it. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to reboot the computer with my DOS startup disk. And we'll see if we can put an MBR on it, or overwrite whatever's there anyway, and see if that makes a difference. We'll make sure that we still have the DOS system on the disk after this boots up. Make sure it's all there and correct. Okay. Okay, so let's look at the C drive. Okay, so we've still got our DOS system on the C drive, we just can't boot from it. So let's try something. Oh, there's a lot of stuff in there, yeah. Okay, yeah, so there's F-disk. I need to run F-disk. Running F-disk on the C drive from the C drive seems like a recipe for disaster to me. So I'm going to copy F-disk over to the A drive because I know it's not on there. F-disk, it is an exe file. So we'll copy it to the A drive and we'll run it from there. Okay. This is kind of an undocumented command for F-disk. It's going to write or overwrite the master boot record on the hard drive. And I mean, if it already has one, overwriting it with a new one isn't going to hurt it. So if it doesn't have one, this might help. So let's try. Okay, so that was quick and easy. So let's pop this disk out and we'll give it the Control-Alt-Delete 3-finger salute and see what happens. Whoa, you look at that. It's starting off the hard drive. Cool. All right, it booted off of its C drive, which is a compact flash card. All right, we got it going. Holy cow. All right. Basically, we have a working system now. I mean, I need to tidy it up, put everything in the box. I need to decide what I'm going to do with it because... you know, I got 256 megabytes on here. Little less. But that's going to be pretty tight for like Windows 98. Windows is going to take up most of that space. So I got to think about what to do. I have to look around and see maybe I can find a larger capacity CF card. If I can find one that's like a 500 megabytes, that would be better. That'd be close to the limit of what we can do with this machine as it sits. Also, I tried off camera, I tried some of my old parallel IDE hard drives in this thing, and every one I tried appeared to be dead. So none of those are going to work, but I can scrounge around some more. I got a lot of stuff out in the lab, so there's possible I missed some. I'll have to look around. I might be able to find a larger actual hard drive or get a larger CF card. But as it sits right now, we've got DOS on it, so it's a working DOS system. Like I say, it needs to be tidied up, and if I can get a bigger hard drive, I'll probably turn it into a Windows system. If I can't, we'll just keep it DOS, and I'll probably put my 5 1/4 inch half-height drive in there, and we'll have a nice DOS system. Ooh, I wonder if I can get Duke Nukem up and running on this thing. I wasn't much of a gamer back in the day, but I did enjoy some Duke Nukem now and then. So that would probably be fun to play on this thing. I'll have to see if I can find that in my software archive somewhere or online. Well, thank you, Rick. You sent me a Survivor, got it up and running. It's a working system now. It's not quite done. There might be a part 3 to this once I get everything all buttoned up and put in the way I want it. And I'm going to try and clean up the case a little bit too, make it a little less grungy, so we'll see how that goes. So there'll probably be part 3 in the future. But hey, thanks for watching this part. I appreciate it, and subscribe to see future videos. And check out my main channel, Omega Geek 64. There's always fascinating stuff going on over there. And I will see you in the next video. Thanks for watching this one. Bye, and thanks a lot again, Rick.